Hello and welcome. In this explainer, we're going to take a closer look at one of the world's most famous icons, the Great Wall of China. Because what most of us think we know about it, well, that's really just the tip of the iceberg of a much bigger, way more complex story.
So let's just get the biggest misconception out of the way right from the start. The Great Wall is not one single continuous wall. That incredible image we all have in our heads of a single wall snaking across the mountains, it's powerful for sure, but it's also a myth. The reality is actually way more impressive. What we're really talking about is this massive, sprawling, non-continuous system of fortifications. It's got walls, yeah, but also forts, beacon towers, and even natural barriers like mountains and rivers, all built by different dynasties over 2,000 years. And get this. In 2012, an official survey finally measured the total length of all the wall sections ever built. The number they came up with is just staggering, over 21,000 kilometers. That's every single man-made defensive line ever connected to the Great Wall system. Okay, so let's really dive into this. The first thing to do when you're trying to understand the wall is to separate the entire historical project from those famous parts we always see in pictures. This chart really puts it in perspective. You see, the well-preserved wall that most people know, the one from the Ming Dynasty, clocks in at just over 8,800 kilometers. That's less than half of the total defensive system ever built. The full story is literally more than twice as long. And you know, even that famous Ming wall wasn't just a wall. It was this really clever hybrid defense line. Check this out. Over 2,200 kilometers of its length wasn't wall at all, but natural barriers like rivers and super steep hills that they strategically wove right into the system. So who built all these different pieces? Well, the wall's construction was kind of cyclical. You'd have these periods of really intense building, and then they'd be followed by long stretches of neglect. It all just depended on what the ruling dynasty needed at the time. It's a fascinating cycle. It kicks off with the Qin Dynasty, who first connected a bunch of earlier walls. The Han Dynasty then pushed it way out west to protect the Silk Road. But then you get these powerful expansionist dynasties like the Tang, who had absolutely no use for it. They didn't build any walls. The Ming are the ones we can thank for the iconic stone version we know today. And then finally, the Qing Dynasty expanded the empire's borders so much that the wall was suddenly deep inside their own territory, making it totally irrelevant. This table does a great job of showing how the wall's whole purpose evolved. The Qin used simple packed earth for defense. The Han used that same kind of construction but stretched it out for a totally different reason, protecting trade on the Silk Road. And then you have the Ming, who used sophisticated brick and stone to build that final massive barrier against invaders from the north. All right, so how on earth did they actually build this thing? I mean, this colossal structure, and what was it really designed to do, beyond just being a giant barrier? For most of its history, the wall was made of something called hanku, which is basically just rammed earth. Workers would build these wooden frames, fill them up with whatever local soil was around, and then just pound it down, layer by layer. It's a pretty low-tech method, but it worked. It's also why a lot of the oldest sections have pretty much eroded back into the landscape. And the human cost, it was just immense. The workforce came from three main groups. Soldiers, who had to both build and guard the wall. Huge numbers of conscripted peasants, just pulled from their farms, and convicts, who were sentenced to hard labor that very few ever returned from. And this is brilliant. It shows the wall's true function. It wasn't just a physical barrier, it was a communication superhighway. They had this incredible network of beacon towers. If an enemy was spotted, a signal could be relayed to the capital at incredible speed, using smoke from burning wolf dung during the day and fire at night. So that brings us to today. Right now, the Great Wall basically exists in two completely different realities. You've got the perfectly restored monument for tourists, and then you have the vast, crumbling ruin. The statistics are pretty shocking. Less than 10% of the entire Great Wall system is considered well-preserved. So what does that mean? It means the other 90%, the overwhelming majority of this wonder of the world, is falling apart. This is what people call the Wild Wall. So you really have two different walls. Two completely different experiences. You have the restored parts, like Badaling, which are completely rebuilt for tourists, packed with people, and even have cable cars. And then you have the Wild Wall, places like Janko, which is untouched, authentic, and gives you a real glimpse into the true state of this ancient structure.
Unfortunately, the threats today don't just come from neglect, but also from really misguided attempts at preservation. Back in 2014, a botched repair job literally saw a historic section paved over with cement. It caused international outrage and really highlighted the challenges of doing conservation right. And then there was this incident from 2023, which shows a different kind of threat. Here, a couple of workers just took an excavator and bulldozed a hole right through the wall, just to make a shortcut. This wasn't some act of malice, it was just a pragmatic view of the wall as an obstacle, which really symbolizes this crisis of its relevance in the modern world. So why? I mean, despite all the decay and its complicated history, why does the wall still have such a powerful grip on our imagination? This last section is all about its role as a symbol and the incredible myths it has inspired. And we have to talk about the most famous myth of all. It's the question that has captured people's imaginations for generations. Can you really see the Great Wall of China from the moon? The answer is absolutely not. It's impossible. The Apollo astronauts all confirmed it. Trying to see the wall from the moon would be like trying to see a single human hair from 2 miles away. You'd need like superhuman vision. Okay, so what about the more common version of the myth? Surely you can see it from much closer, right? From low Earth orbit, where the astronauts on the space station live and work? Nope, sorry. Even from there, the answer is no. The thing is, the wall is actually pretty narrow, and its color tends to blend right in with the surrounding landscape. China's very first astronaut, Yang Li Wei, confirmed it himself after orbiting the Earth 14 times. He said, "I did not see our Great Wall." And this really gets to the heart of the wall's power. The myth about seeing it from space lasts not because it's a fact, but because the scale of the Great Wall is just so immense, so mind-boggling, that it just feels like it should be true. Its real legacy isn't just in stone and earth, but in its incredible ability to inspire a sense of wonder that goes beyond reality itself.